Welcome to Mostly Mets, and on our last video we spoke about the pitching staff and I graded the entire staff, both individually and as a whole, and today it's time to do the same for the offense. I'm going to go through each individual offensive player and grade them on an A to F scale and let you know how I feel about them. Just important to know, these are my rankings, these are my grades. I'd like to know what you think as well. Let me know if you think I'm wrong, let me know if you think I'm right, where I'm wrong, where I'm right. Put it in the comments, let me know. I don't mind having a discussion. And yeah, if you're new here, please subscribe, like this video, comment, all that stuff. And with that, we'll just get started. Alright, I wanted to mention these first couple of guys, even though I didn't grade them yet, because, let's be honest, they've both played only a handful of games so far for the Mets. They've only played one series, and that's McNeel and Alvarez. They've both been very good coming off the injured list. They both have a home run. They both have 3 RBIs already, so they've performed really well coming off the injured list, definitely given a boost to this lineup, made it deeper. Alvarez brings that power threat that was kind of lacking after Vientos in the lineup, and McNeel... Listen, you could say what you want about McNeel. I know a lot of people are completely against McNeel at this point, but he knows how to hit. He's a professional hitter. Maybe he's never going to be a 320 hitter again, but if he can hit 270, 280, 290 and provide you really good at bats at the bottom of your lineup, you can't really beat that. And I think he's got to get some playing time. I know Acuna's been playing well, but McNeel right now is going to get a lot of playing time. I think they're both going to. Obviously, you see McNeel playing some center field now. I don't love that. I don't see him as a true center fielder, obviously, but he's performed well there so far. And if he can perform in center field, at least at an adequate level, and you're able to keep him in the offense as well as keep Acuna playing every day at second base, this lineup is very deep and very dangerous, and I'd really like to see that continue. I'd love to see him be able to play center field, or maybe Acuna play center field and keep them both in the lineup. Obviously, Alvarez is kind of splitting time right now with Torren because Torren has been so good, but overall, I don't really see a weak point in the lineup if all of those guys are playing significant games. All right, now for the bench guys and some guys who aren't here right now. So obviously Jose Siri, very tough start to his season, and now he's out probably for a couple of months with that broken bone in his leg. But either way, I think he's an F for me. I was kind of excited about Siri coming into this year. I thought maybe they could unlock something in him. He's a very exciting player, very fast, and he has some power, but he didn't show any of that power on the Mets. He was basically batted .050, terrible. I think he got on base 5 times while he was in the major leagues, and in like 13 or 14 games, he got on base 5 times. Now, I think he scored on all 5 of those, base running opportunities, but he just doesn't hit enough. I don't think he's ever going to hit enough. Played a great center field, but listen, at the end of the day, you have to do something. You can't just give nothing offensively, and he was really a disappointment for me, and we're probably not going to see him for a while, and even when he's healthy, if McNeel shows he could play center, or Tyrone Taylor's hitting the ball really well, or maybe Acuna, or maybe they call someone up, I just don't see a lot of playing time for him, even when he does come back, probably as a pinch runner, maybe I don't even know if you can pinch hit with him, because he just doesn't make enough contact, he doesn't get on base enough, so Jose Siri, an F for me, and I'm not glad anyone gets hurt, but I'm glad he's kind of not just bogging down our lineup at this point. Hayden Sanger, another guy who is no longer on the team because Alvarez is healthy. I give Hayden Sanger a C. And now, I know his hitting stats are not great. He was not a great hitter. He only had a couple hits while he was up. But I give him a C because he performed as well, I guess, as you could expect him to. He played really good defense. He only hit 179, had no RBIs or home runs. He scored 3 runs. We didn't expect a good hitter out of Sanger, so I can't penalize him and give him a lower grade because I just never expected him to hit anyway, and he still gave us good defense, and he was able to just keep control while Alvarez was out. So I have no problem with the way Sanger played, and if there's another injury or someone else goes down, then I could definitely see Sanger coming back up and providing that defensive second catcher, that backup catcher, that once or twice a week catcher that you just need to have on your roster because your catcher's not going to play every day. So Sanger was fine. C sounds about right to me. Now, obviously, another guy who is no longer with the team is Batty. Brett Batty had a great spring training, and I kind of bought into the hype and thought that he would perform in the season. And early in the season, he really struggled. He picked it up later, and he was actually in a pretty hot stretch before they sent him down. I think there's reasons for that. I think they wanted to show teams that he could perform in the major leagues, and now they're kind of stashing him in the minors and maybe hope to trade him. He really doesn't have a place on this team anymore. Not with Acuna playing well, not with McNeel back, with Mauricio now starting rehab games. I don't know what role Batty has with this team and with this organization, so I gave him a C-. If he didn't have that hot streak at the end, he was probably a D or an F, but he picked it up. He hit the home run off against Wheeler. He showed that he can play at the major league level, but he's probably not a high value player at this point. He's a bench piece or maybe a low-end starter. I just don't really see him being a great player, and C- seems about right to me. Now, a guy who I think is probably the biggest surprise on this team right now is Luis Torrens. Now, I wouldn't say he's a complete surprise because we did see what he could do last year. We saw that he was able to really hit for a pretty good for a catcher, and he's an excellent defender. So I don't think it's a huge surprise, but when Alvarez was out, you didn't really feel like you were missing much. You didn't feel like Torrens was an easy out. He stays in at bats. He has some power. He's not going to be a 25 or 30 home run guy, but even as a starting catcher, is he probably a 15 to 20 home run guy? Probably. And he's a clutch hitter. He gets big hits. And really, he's not a backup catcher. We're going to use him kind of as a backup catcher, probably playing 30 or 40% of the time, while Alvarez plays the bulk of the time, just because he's your guy and you need him to be that main piece in your lineup. So Torrens gets a B+ from me. It probably could have been higher, but he did kind of slide. He had like an 0 for 11 stretch in between kind of hot stretches. So I don't know that he's super consistent, but he is hitting .258 with a home run, 10 RBIs, and he has a .711 OPS. So he's played very well. And if Alvarez starts to struggle, or if we see that real swing and miss stuff from Alvarez, I could see Torrens kind of starting to get a bulk of the playing time at some point this year. We'll have to see how that goes, and I think they're going to give Alvarez every opportunity to play the bulk of the time, but Torrens might force his way into more playing time. We'll see what happens, but right now I'm really happy with Torrens, and I give him a B+. Now getting into the starting players, or at least the platoon players, Jesse Winker. I give Winker a C so far. He's turned it on a little bit lately. He was batting under 200 for most of the season. He's up to 220 now. He's got a home run, 8 RBIs, and a .706 OPS. So he hasn't been great, but he's had really good moments. He seems to be a really clutch player who kind of lives for those high-intensity RBIs. And he's really just adds that attitude to the team that I appreciate. I would like to see him hit for a little higher average. That's why he gets a C from me. You can either be a high average guy or a power guy. You can't kind of not do either. So I don't love what we've gotten from Jesse Winker so far this year, but he definitely is the best option we have right now for DH, and I appreciate what he's done in big situations. So I think you have to give him kind of his accolades there. But I'd like to see him start hitting the ball more consistently, get some base hits, maybe hit a couple home runs here or there, but I don't think that's really his game. Hit the ball in the gap, hit a double, drive in some runs, and I think he could be really successful going forward, and he seems to be getting hot right now. So C so far, but I definitely think he's going to be much higher in a couple months from now. The other DH that we have is Stling Marte. He's not been very impressive to me so far this year. He looks old. He looks broken down. He can't run anymore. I mean, I guess he can run anymore, but he kind of picks his spots, and he doesn't run everything out, which I understand. He's in his late 30s now. He's not going to run everything out. He doesn't want to get hurt. He's been hurt a lot over the last couple of years, and really for his whole career. But right now he's hitting 174. He's got 1 home run, 8 RBIs, and a .574 OPS, so he might. The thing I like about Marte is when he comes up in a big situation, he does tend to at least get the basics done. He's not just going to strike out on 3 pitches or ground into a double play. He at least will move a runner over, or he'll get a single up the middle. You know, he did have to have that walk-off against the Phillies last week. So overall, I can't give him an F because he has contributed a couple of times, but he doesn't look like he's going to even last the season at this point. He looks broken down. He looks old, and And he's an injury waiting to happen as well. He gets hit with a lot of pitches too, so one of those might, I don't want to say anything. I don't want him to get hurt. That's not how I want his Mets kind of tenure to end. But I have a feeling that at the end of the season, he's probably going to be a DFA kind of candidate. Once guys are ready, Mauricio, and maybe they want to see Batty get another chance, or another one of these guys in the minors, maybe they want to see one of them come up and see what they can do. I think Marte could end up being a DFA guy, but I do like his ability to, I like his leadership, his veteran leadership on the bench a lot of times. Obviously he's close with Soto, and he's just a good guy on the bench. Everyone likes him. So maybe they keep him around for that reason, kind of like how JD Martinez was towards the end of last year. Maybe that kind of role for him where he doesn't get that much playing time, and we'll see what happens, but I just don't love what I'm seeing out of Marte, so he gets a D. All right, another surprise for me, at least. I know a lot of Met fans really like Luis Angel Acuna. I wasn't as big a fan coming into this season. I thought he was a guy who was probably more of a backup middle infielder, kind of a utility guy, a guy who has really great speed and plays good defense, but isn't really going to hit much at the major league level. And right now it looks like he's proving me wrong. He's up to 288 now in his average, and he's got a 711 OPS, a 347 on base percentage. He hasn't hit for any power yet, but I think that eventually will come. He showed that last year in his 10 games or so that he played in the majors. And right now I have to have him at a B+. He's been very good defensively. He's an upgrade at second base, obviously. In that first game against the Nationals in this series where they blew the save late, McNeel couldn't quite get to that ball, or he got to it and it kind of went off his foot, or whatever happened, it got under his glove. I think Acuna makes that play, and maybe we have a chance to still win that game. So he's an upgrade defensively. And he's hit really well, and the moment never really seems too big for him. That's one thing. There was some talk coming into the season that he was bored in the minor leagues and bored in spring training, and he needs the action of the major leagues, and maybe that's true. It looks like maybe that's a reality. Maybe he needs the big moment, the big situation, and he needs to go up against the best to really compete at his best. It seems like maybe that is the case. So he's definitely performed better than I thought. I'm very excited about what I see out of him, and I hope it continues. And now I'm kind of becoming a believer. I wasn't before, and I'm starting to believe a little bit in Acuna now, just the way he's been playing lately. Now we're getting into more of the big guys, the middle of the order, the top of the order, and we're going to start there with Brandon Nimmo. Now, Nimmo had a huge game in that last game against Washington, 9 RBIs, 2 home runs. He had 9 RBIs in the span of 3 innings. What can you say? He's been really bad all year. We've all been talking about, whether it's Mets content creators or media people or just fans on Twitter, saying that, basically, is Nimmo done? I've said it. I have asked the question, is Nimmo done? Is this contract bad? Is he going to last the rest of his contract? And then he goes out there and has a performance like yesterday. 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, and now he's second on the team in RBIs. Now, I understand most of it's all from one game. I think maybe we jumped the gun a little bit with Nimmo saying he's done, but I still do see the issues with him. The changing of his approach. He's trying to become more of a power hitter, and it's paying off. He's tied with Pete for the team lead in home runs with 6. And so you can't say that it's not working, but I don't love the approach of just going up and trying to be a home run hitter. I like him better when he's working counts, trying to get on base, putting pressure on a pitcher. The old Nimmo, the one that we all kind of came to love, right? But now that's not the guy he is anymore. I think that they're trying to make him into more of a power guy, especially now that he's getting older and more injury prone, and maybe he doesn't have the same speed as he used to. Getting extra base hits or hitting one over the fence might be the best way to go with him. I just think it's turned him into kind of a worse player at the end of the day. Before yesterday, I was probably giving Nimmo a D or maybe even an F. He's been that bad before yesterday and before this Washington series. But I have to put him right now at a C. Like I said, he's got 6 home runs, 21 RBIs, 261 on base percentage, and a 679 OPS, which isn't great, especially for a guy who's hit cleanup most of the year. You need a little more power, a little more juice. I mean, I know he has 6 home runs, but everything else has pretty much been singles. Not a great season so far for Nimmo, but maybe he's on the right track now. After a huge game, maybe this boosts him into having a better season and really improving going forward. I hope that's the case, and we'll see what happens. All right, a guy that I have at an A right now is Francisco Lindor. Lindor, we all know about his slow starts. Well, it didn't happen this year. He's gotten off to a very hot start. He's hitting over 300. He's got 5 home runs, 14 RBIs. He's scored 20 runs. He's got 840 OPS, and it's April. And usually in April, we're looking at him, and he's batting around 200. So if this is going to be Lindor this season, I think that the league's in trouble, and the Mets could go far if Lindor is going to be this productive in April. I can only imagine how he's going to be in July and August. Now, hopefully this continues. I think having Soto hit behind him is a big help for him. He's seeing a lot more pitches that he can do damage with. He doesn't have to be the guy in the lineup anymore. He's one of the guys. You have Lindor and Soto and Alonso and maybe even Vientos, and if he really starts to pick it up, and Nimmo, if he continues what he's been doing. So I think Lindor's benefited from that greatly, and right now he's an A. Maybe someone will put him an A plus or something, but honestly, I've seen his defense slip a little bit this year, and that's not something I expected to see, and that's kind of why he's an A instead of an A plus. The defense, and then the early season struggles. The first week of the year or so, he was striking out on a lot of bad pitches. There was extenuating circumstances. His wife just had a baby, and I'm sure there was stuff going on at home. He was a busy guy. Maybe baseball wasn't the first thing on his mind. I get it. We're all human. But really, I think he's had a great start to his season, and I'm really excited for what he's going to do the rest of the way. All right, now talking about a guy who probably has had the best start, not even probably, has had the best start to the season for the Mets, probably one of the best starts in Major League Baseball, and that's Pete Alonso. I give Pete an A plus so far. He's hitting .337 with 6 home runs, 27 RBIs, a .453 on base percentage, and OPS over 1,000. Still, a month into the season, his OPS is over 1,000, and still his batting average is .337. Now, he's an A plus, and this is probably the best start you could imagine out of Pete Alonso. I don't see this continuing, right? We've even seen the last, 5 to 7 games, he's fallen off a little bit. He's still getting his base hits. He's still getting on base. The power hasn't really been there, but he's still getting his walks. He's still getting his hits. He's still getting on base. And really, I think a lot of that has to do with the Soto effect, just like with Lindor. The pitcher maybe relaxes a little bit after he gets Soto out, and it gives Pete that opportunity. Or there's just a couple guys on base when Alonso comes up, and he's able to get better pitches to hit. So I really think, I hope this continues. Now, Pete Alonso's not going to be a .337 hitter. He's just not. He's not that kind of guy. Maybe this is one of those outlier seasons where he hits 300 or 310, something like that. But I just don't see him being that guy. But his approach has been to limit the power and kind of hit the ball the other way, get on base, get singles. So maybe he's a 300 hitter this year. And if that's the case, I see the power numbers coming down. But listen, if he hits .310 with 36 home runs and 130 RBIs, I'm fine with that. You don't have to hit 50 home runs. Hit 35, hit 36, whatever. That's about what he's on pace for at this point. So I love the start of Pete Alonso. I don't think the Mets are anywhere close to having 20 wins right now without him. He was their offense for the first 2 weeks of the season, basically. And now that he's slowed down a little bit, other players have started to pick it up. And really that it just shows that how good and balanced of a lineup they are. I prefer the way they're hitting now with everyone kind of contributing rather than early in the season where it was just Pete Alonso winning every game for the Mets. So great start by Alonso. A plus is definitely deserved here. I never thought we'd see him get off to a start like this. All right, now I have kind of the two guys that I find hardest to grade. You look at Juan Soto, and right now I have him at about a C. And there's a lot of talk between fans of whether he's having a good season or a bad season, or if he should be booed or if he shouldn't be booed. At the end of the day, he's still hitting .257. He's only got the 3 home runs and the 12 RBIs. But his on-base percentage is .378, so he's getting his walks, and his OPS is almost 800. Now, those aren't Juan Soto numbers. Those aren't what we expected signing him. But you would take that for most guys, right? If Brandon Nimmo had those numbers, you'd be okay with that. You'd be happy with that. He would have went from a C to a B plus or maybe an A. But with Soto, you expect an impact bat. You expect a guy who's going to be in the middle of every rally, either hitting a double in the gap or hitting one over the wall. And what we've gotten so far is singles and walks. And yes, he's always going to get his walks. That's just what he does. He knows the strike zone. He doesn't generally swing at bad pitches, so he's going to take his walks. And that's just a big part of his game. But when he does get hits, they're ground balls between first and second and up the middle. He hit a double yesterday. I just like to see a little more impact out of him. Yes, he's been fine. Yes, he's been adequate. He's done a decent job, which is why he's a C. But you don't expect a decent job out of Juan Soto. You just don't. And you could say whatever you want about that. Yes, he has a high on-base percentage. Yes, his OPS isn't terrible. But he's just, you can tell if you watch the games, he's not right. He's not comfortable. And they even said it on the broadcast yesterday. He's having trouble pulling the ball, which means he's out of sorts. So I think it was a good sign yesterday that he hit a double down the left field line. He's maybe just working out of it right now, trying to get more comfortable and into his power. Once he taps into his power and starts pulling the ball, we're going to see a different Juan Soto. We're going to see the guy that we thought. I have no issue. I have no concern that he's going to fall off and that he's going to be wasted money and he's not a good player. Listen, it's a month into the season. I'm not concerned, and he has been hitting better as of lately. He has multiple hits in his last 2 games. Like I said, that double to left field in yesterday's game was important, I think, for him to get his confidence going a little bit. And overall, I'm not worried, but I do want to kind of start to see that dominant Soto soon. It's annoying waiting. Let's see him go out in the Arizona series and do something at home. We haven't seen Soto hit a home run in Citi Field yet this year, so I'm not concerned, like I said, but we do need to start seeing that dominant, that impact bat soon. And the other guy I had kind of a hard time with is Mark Vientos. Vientos started off the season awfully. He was terrible to start the season. And if this video was 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, he's probably an F, and you'd have me sitting here concerned and saying either it's a sophomore slump or he was kind of a one-year wonder. But he's picked it up lately. He's hit a couple home runs. And he's just been hitting the ball a little bit harder. He's a strange guy because he gets these weird hits. He has all this power where he can hit a ball 450 feet on any given pitch. But then he has such weak contact sometimes that he ends up getting infield hits. I know that happens to everybody, but it seems to happen to him more. He gets some of the best contact you see and also some of the worst contact you see. So he's kind of a boom or bust player, but he's been better lately, especially in the Washington series. In the last game, he did hit a 3-run home run. It was off of Ahmed Rosario, who's obviously a position player, but still, they all count. They all go towards your batting average, all go towards your home run total. So I give him right now, I'm kind of in the C- category with him, just because I need to see a little bit more, but I think we're starting to see a little bit more. And I think that he's going to be fine. But so far this year, listen, he's batting .219, 3 home runs, 14 RBIs, a .688 OPS, a .303 on base percentage. So he is getting on base, he is getting his walks, but I just haven't seen anything impact. A lot like Soto, he's gotten a couple base hits here and there, he's gotten his walks, but he hasn't been the impact bat that we need. And hitting in the middle of the order, being a guy that's relied on by this offense and this lineup to produce power, he just hasn't really done that yet. So I'm not as concerned as I was maybe a couple weeks ago with Vientos, and I don't expect him to ever be a 300 hitter. If he hits 250 with 30 home runs and 90 RBIs, I'm a happy guy. I think that's what his sweet spot kind of is, and that's what he's going to be, and that's what I expect from him going forward. But right now he's about a C, C-. Overall, I think the Mets have had a pretty good offense this year. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're a terrible offense or a great offense. They've kind of been top of the middle, right? So if you look at them, they're 9th in OPS, they're 12th in batting average, 9th in runs, and they're 16th in home runs. So they haven't been a big slugging team. They're right around the middle, and then top 10, top 12 of the league in a lot of categories. So I really give them a C+. You haven't seen them click fully as an offense, maybe into that last game in Washington. There's been times, there's been stretches, maybe a game, maybe 2 games here and there, where their offense looks really locked in and everyone's contributing. But then they go a couple games where it's maybe one guy who hits a 2-run home run like Alvarez did, and that's kind of all the offense they have for a while. So I'm not necessarily in love with the way that the offense has been so far. There's times where they just go to sleep, and then there's times where they explode. I'd rather see them be consistent, where you're getting 5 or 6 runs a game with multiple people producing. Yes, you're probably going to have a new star every night. That's kind of the way it works in baseball, because one guy hits a 3-run home run and he's the star of the game. That's going to happen, but I just need to see a little more consistency out of this offense to rate them higher. There's a lot of people right now, and before the season they put a target on their back with Alvarez saying that he thinks they have the best lineup in baseball, and Nimmo kind of saying the same thing. They haven't shown that so far, but you've seen flashes. You've seen times where they have been dominant, and they've been this good without Soto really hitting, and without Vientos really hitting, and without Alvarez and McNeel in the lineup. So I do think they're going to get better, but right now, C+, I think, is a good number for them, a good grade for them. Not bad, not great, kind of in the middle, maybe a little bit better than the middle, which is where their rankings kind of are. So yeah, C+ sounds about right. All right, that's what I feel about the offense so far this season. I hope in the comments you guys will let me know what you think about my grades. Let me know your grades. Let me know what you think, who you disagree on, who you agree on. Like I said, if you're new here, please subscribe. If you've been here, please like the video. And yeah, just let me know. Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, let's go Mets.